Hello, today we are going to be learning how to cook with the trangia. I've got Craig here. He has cooked on a trangia before, but not for a while. So today we're gonna whip up a quick camp style meal. Before we start, Trangia is a brand. That's not what the actual thing is called. It's just a brand and now everyone calls it a trangia, and it's the most widely used cooking stove you'd see in a school camp situation. It's fueled by methylated spirits. You just light it and that's how you cook your food. In a group setting, you usually have the kids in a circle, won't allow them to go in the middle of the circle in case anyone steps on a trangia, and you'll usually fill up the methylated spirits about 5-10 meters away. That just prevents spills or anything catching on fire that you don't want to catch on fire. So let's start cooking. To resurrect the trangia, we're gonna undo the little strap. Usually with the kids, they lose the strap pretty easily. So we'd usually like them to put it around their leg or put it around their head. But we don't need to do that today because there's no wind or anything. So we're going to pull the strap from underneath the bottom of the trangia. Yep, pull it out. And it usually comes with 2 pots. This one has a kettle and it usually has a frying pan on top, but we don't have that today, but that's okay. We're not going to use it. So what we want to do is we're going to flip the one with the holes upside down. Yep, and pull the strap out. Perfect, and pop that on the bottom. And then this one with the big hole in it, on there, and then we're going to turn it around so it's nice and secure. You'll see it'll clip in. Whoop. Yep, perfect. And then what we want to do is there's a little golden fuel canister. I'm going to pick that up and twist the top off. Perfect. And we want to put that on the ground and pop that in the middle. Pop the fuel canister in the middle of the hole. And that's how we set up a trangia. Okay, so we've gone ahead and we've put the methylated spirits in the little fuel pot. Sometimes you can put a little bit of water in and that reduces the amount of black carbon that builds up on the bottom of the pot. But right now we're going to go ahead and light it. That's it. Perfect. Sometimes it'll make a little sound, but it's really important that you tell the students to be careful. Sometimes there's actually no flame, but it's still lit. And sometimes that can cause issues if students go and light it and they can burn their hands. But what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and put the pot on top of the flame. Usually would have spondonicles, but we don't have the exact ones right now. But tongs are perfectly fine. Make sure it's nice and level. That looks pretty good. There we go. And we are going to go ahead and make our polenta. So we're going to pour in our already made stock. Pour that in. Perfect. Lovely. And then together we're going to also put in the polenta, which we have prepared earlier. Usually grains are nice to cook with. They're easy to carry and they fill you up. So pop that in. And we'll stir that around and bring it to the boil. Okay, so once we want whatever we're cooking to stop boiling, we have to make sure we put the simmer on. You can adjust it with how much flame you want it. Now I might make it halfway, but usually as the instructor, you want to put this on to make sure that the kids don't burn themselves. All right, so you just want to carefully line it up, and it's a bit of a fluke if you get it on or not, but perfect. Okay, so our polenta is nice and thick. So what we're going to do is we're going to try and take it off the heat now. You're going to grab your spondonicles or whatever you have on handy, which for us is our tongs, and make sure you put it on a surface that is going to be heat proof or that you don't want to get dirty. So now what we're going to do is we're going to put the other pot on the heat. That's it, and pop her on. We can keep the simmer like that because we don't want it too hot. And we're gonna put our veggies on and make our sauce. I went ahead and put some water in. I usually just put water in my trangia instead of oil because it's just something less you have to carry. And we're gonna go ahead and put our zucchini in. And we're just gonna let that simmer in there until it gets nice and tender. Things like zucchini or broccoli, spinach, corn, cucumber, carrots are really good to carry because they don't get squashed as easy. You can also use dehydrated or freeze-dried meals, but I personally like to and encourage my students to cook fresh meals because it's just more nutritious. All right, so as per usually with normal cooking, once your harder veggies start to become soft, we can now put the rest of the ingredients in. Again, mushrooms, which are really easy to carry. And we've also got some fresh corn, which is easy to carry. And then we have some chickpeas and beans. We would never carry a can of either of these, but recently you can get sachet beans as well, which is really handy, as you can with tuna or salmon. So always make sure you carry sachets with you and not cans, because if you carry the cans in, then you're gonna have to carry them out. All right, and now we're gonna put the sauce on. We're having a Moroccan one in ours. But like I said before, you can get lots of different sachets of pasta sauce, stir fries, pestos, lots of different things to flavor your meals. And same again, whenever you take the pot off the heat, make sure you're not using your hands. And then usually I just instruct the kids to let the fuel burn out. You can put the lid on top to save the fuel, but usually it's quite likely you'll put another pot on, make a hot chocolate or something for dessert. Yeah, just let it burn out. That's usually the easiest if you're instructing younger kids, especially year 7s and 8s. Okay, so we've finished our lunch. Just a few things before I finish the video. Sometimes the students want to eat out of the trangia bowls. Make sure this doesn't happen, especially in the next coming year, because it can spread germs. But overall, make sure you do clear instructions at the start, and then kids will be able to follow that. But always keep an eye on them, and if you see them doing it they shouldn't, take a step in. But usually students are pretty good. Just keep an eye on them because accidents can happen, and we are around flames. And usually when you're in the outdoors, you're surrounded by dead trees and stuff, and you really don't want to start a bushfire. So as I said before, you can leave the flame on, or you can instruct a few people in the group to boil some water, as we have here, as you can see. And then that just makes it easier to, 1, use up the fuel, and 2, to clean the pots. If you're somewhere like the Murray and you have sand around and the food you've cooked is stuck to the bottom, that's a really good way to scrape off and clean your pots. If not, just make sure all the food has been eaten. You can't leave it lying around because animals will get it. All the food is eaten and the pots are nice and clean, because even if you're in a remote location, it's really important to stay hygienic. That includes your cooking utensils as well. So that's how you use a trangia. Make sure you put it up, just clean it, stack it so it's going to fit in your pack nice and easily.